I'm going to ask you to do something that's going to seem super easy, but you're going to be surprised at how hard it is. Hi, I'm John Marvellis. I'm the top fitness and fat loss expert here in the Blaine, Lino Lakes, Shoreview area, and today I'm going to show you how to really change your habits. Now, there's a couple key things that need to happen when you change your habits. But before we get into that, I want you to try this little exercise for me. And I want you to do this out loud. It's going to sound really strange, so if you're listening to this video, just actually do this out loud. You can do it to yourself if you're in a place. Just do it quietly if you're in a place where there's other people who are listening who might look at you weird. Or if you don't care, just belt it out and other people will look at you weird. So I want you to count to 26 out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Not too hard, right? Let me ask you to do something else. Say the ABCs. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Not too hard, right? Now I want you to take those two and do them again, alternating. So A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, F6, and after a little bit, I bet it takes you a little bit after you get towards the end of the alphabet. Most people do the first ones really quick. So make sure you actually try this on your own. Try and get all the way to 26. Notice how much longer it takes you to do those together, switching back and forth between those two things that you know really well, versus doing it in one big string, even if you do them back to back. And that brings me to a key point. Whenever you need to change your habits, habits are something that your body does automatically, that are so ingrained, like counting to 26, saying the ABCs. Those are things that are really easy for us. And, one of the things that I've learned through trying to change people's habits, particularly when it comes to fat loss, is that people are not nearly as good at multitasking as we think we are. And that's a really good exercise to show you why. You think we can think of two things at once, but your brain always loses efficiency when you switch back and forth between those two things. And your focus is similar when you try and make a habit. Think of it this way. If you have one habit that you're trying to change, you can stay really focused on that. Maybe it's to lose 20 pounds. Maybe your goal is to lose 20 pounds in, say, 3 months. And so your habit that you want to change is, I'm going to work out 3 times a week. Well, most people won't stop there. They'll also say, I want to stop drinking diet soda. And since they're feeling, pretty ambitious at this time, they're probably also going to say something like, I'm going to get on a budget. And this happens all the time at New Year's. Most people don't make one resolution. They make 4, 5, 6. The problem is, just like with saying the ABCs and counting, your brain does really well focusing on one thing, but when you give it 5 different things to focus on that are all very important to you simultaneously, it's going to go back and forth between the 5. It's going to feel really good. Those first couple weeks, you're motivated, you're doing everything right, but then eventually you get worn out very quickly because your brain is constantly bouncing focus and trying to figure it out. So, the biggest key when you want to change your habit is to pick one that you really want to change over the next 20 to 30 days really is about what you want to focus on. There's ways around that that'll get to the end of this. But here's what you need to know about habits. Habits are things that we do automatically. Some of them are good, like brushing our teeth, stopping at red lights, using our turn signal when we turn, saying please and thank you. These are good habits. Obviously, we have a lot of bad habits, and that's where most of my clients are coming to us to try and get those bad habits out. Here are the parts of a habit. A habit has a trigger. And usually, one of the most important parts in changing a habit is to identify what your trigger is. The trigger is what cues you to start doing your habit. For example, brushing your teeth before bed. Maybe after you finish watching a show for the day, or you're starting to get tired. That's your trigger, that it's time to go brush your teeth. And it causes you to do that. If we're talking about unhealthy habits, maybe on the way home from work, you get a really big sugar craving and you stop and get a cookie from McDonald's or something like that. Your trigger then would be feeling hungry on the way home from work. And then that trigger leads to a response, which would be going to get that cookie. And then ultimately, it leads to a reward. No one's going to start a habit if there's nothing in it for them. So the ultimate reward you get is that satisfaction, that delicious tasting cookie that is triggered by you feeling hungry, having those sugar cravings on the way home. So the keys to changing your habit is to identify that trigger, then see what you can do about that. And if the trigger, for example, if you feel like you're feeling hungry on the way home, you can't change that. You drive home, at the same time. So what you can do is try and alleviate that trigger and come up with a different reward. So when you're changing that habit, you need to identify one of these 3 key areas and make a change to it if you're going to make that habit. Either you need a different reward. Maybe you have a piece of fruit, stop at the grocery store, get a banana instead of a cookie on your way home. You change your response. You decide that you're going to reward yourself by listening to a song you really like, or you're going to drink a bottle of water instead. Every time you get hungry, your first reaction is going to be to drink some water instead of going for some sweet, salty food that you're craving. Or you try and make a change to the trigger by, say you start craving sugar on the way home, maybe you have a little snack before you get in your car. So it's important to try and make these changes. Like we said, it takes 20 to 30 days to develop a habit. And so, for example, if you wanted to get in the habit of working out every day, let's say you wanted to work out in the morning, maybe your trigger would be you take your clothes out, you set them out the night before. So when you get up, you grab the clothes and you go right into your workout. That's your trigger. Your response is you need to train yourself. As soon as I pick up those clothes, I'm out the door and I'm going to work out. And, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. As soon as I pick up those clothes, I'm heading, to the gym, to the workout spot, wherever it is you work out. And then your reward, this is where people sometimes struggle a little bit, is at the end of your workout, you need to reward yourself with a little bit. It could just be focusing on how great you feel. It could be, giving yourself a little break, watching a YouTube video that you really like, or something little like that you can reward yourself with. Hopefully not food. And now, if you really are committed to changing this habit, the best thing you can do is to make it public. We are social creatures, and that works for us in this case. The more people you tell that you're trying to change a habit, the more likely you are to be successful. So obviously you want to start with people close to you. If it's an embarrassing habit or something that you don't want a lot of people to know about, you don't have to tell a lot of people, but tell someone who's important, who can keep you accountable, and more importantly, who will know if you succeed or not. Because, we want peer pressure. In this case, we can make it work for us and kind of make it more likely that we're going to succeed in those habits that we want to change. And then going back to this reward, another really successful thing is to have a second reward for completing your habit. So say after 30 days of working out every day in the gym, you get to go on a weekend vacation with your spouse, or whatever that reward is for you. You get to go and have a night out with your friends who you haven't seen in a month. Make it a reward that you actually want to have, and then you also want to have a consequence. And now, the worse you can make this consequence, the better. So some really good consequences I've heard is, my wife told me that if she didn't succeed, she was going to wash and detail her husband's car for him. Donate money to a political cause that you don't like. So if you're a Republican, donate to the Democrats or vice versa. And that is usually a pretty motivating consequence. And so having both a reward and a consequence for achieving that habit, being successful through that time, is going to make you more likely to succeed. And now you see how many different parts there can be to changing a habit. And this is why it's important to pick 1, 2 at the most habits that you really want to focus on, set important goals for them, and then focus on changing them. Now, the reason a program like ours is so successful is because rather than changing, your nutrition habits, changing your workout habits, changing your drinking habits, all of that, you only have to change your habit of coming to Fit for Life. We cover the workouts for you. All you have to do is show up. We give you the nutrition plan to eat. So there are some habits involved in that, but it's much easier when you're following a structured program. So if you aren't able to make it to our program, find a plan. Follow that as much as you can. If you can have a workout buddy, if you're trying to make those habits to change, make it as easy as possible. Don't try and do everything from willpower, because most likely you're going to fall back into that trigger. You'll feel good for a little bit, but once that trigger hits again, you'll hear your response and the normal reward that you're used to. So Hopefully that made a little bit of sense. I know it can sound a little bit complicated, but the big thing is when you want to make a change to your habit, identify the trigger, change your response, and give yourself an alternate reward. So hopefully now you have a little bit better idea on how to change your habits, or if you're client, you're starting to get a better idea of what we do and why our program is so successful, because we focus on these things. So whether you're a client or someone just looking to change your habit at home, I hope you got something out of this video. So I'm John Maravellis, the top fitness and fat loss expert here in the Blaine, Lino Lakes, Shoreview area, and I hope you enjoyed this.